Welcome back to RGR Craft. It is a unique time of year, and despite all of our technical difficulties and those felt around the world, we are back. This is Mike Munhall. I'm Ryan Tracy. Welcome to the show, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Ryan. How are you?
I'm here. I'm ready to drink beer and talk beer. I'm pretty excited. We're going to cover GABF, but
yes, we are.
I want to talk about this. This is Sampan from Melvin. And if I hold it correctly, you can see it. Beautiful label. An Asian style Pilsner, Imperial, they call it. Really nice looking when it's poured, and I'm going to enjoy that while we talk about GABF. What about you?
Right on. I'm drinking New Belgium Triple out of my New Belgium glass.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Now, it's funny because when we start talking about GABF, yes, this was a creepy year. But I think it was the first session, for those of you that weren't on it, and those of you that love going to GABF because you want to drink the beer and you don't really go for the information. Well, I go for the information. The first thing was a glassware tutorial. And this is really interesting because that glass that you're holding was on that show. Mm-hmm. This is a Rastel, the Craft Master. This is my favorite one. Again, because of nucleation sites, you can see as it helps stimulate some of that carbonation, get the aromas out for you. And same thing that we go through every time about what beer are you putting in what glass. I really enjoyed that session, and it's got me thinking about glassware this week.
Right. Yeah, I have not been looking forward to this show with you, Ryan, because I want this show to be about the things that we like, right? I don't want necessarily to talk about the things that we don't like. And unfortunately, I was not really pleased with GABF this year.
Yeah.
I mean, what can you do, right? You can't get together to drink beer, and we didn't. But we still got to cover it. I think it's still an important topic. But the glassware session was actually one of the exceptions, right? That was actually something I actually enjoyed. I've been wanting to do a glassware segment on our show. Mm-hmm. So I think they kind of stole our thunder there. But
the thunder.
Sure. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought it was fun. But like every session that they had online for GABF this year, wasn't GABF, I spend, my job is to be on Zooms like we are right now, like almost all day long, right? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of hard to look forward to continuing to do that into the evening on Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah, I admit, more power to him because there's nothing else you could do. But I agree with you. Like a lot of the festivals that we go to, I go for the seminars as much as I do for all the tastings. Don't get me wrong, I love the tastings, but I have a tendency to drift towards the higher ABV beers, the big barrel age kind of stuff. So I don't have that much opportunity because I get a few tastes in and my palate's gone and I'm just having fun at that point. So I enjoy the learning part. That's what this felt like to me. That there were some decent topics. There was a lot of technical difficulties. In fact, Brewers Association, if you're watching, we can do something for you next year. I think it's important going forward because this was an opportunity, I think, to expand the audience over those people that travel to Denver and go to the show every year, those that aren't brewers. And I think it's something that they should look at going forward, but it definitely needs to get a little bit spiced up because you can't make up for the fact that you're not tasting beer.
Right. I don't know how much you can dress it up. We're not tasting beer. It's not a festival. So I don't know how much better they could have done than what they did, minus a couple production issues. Obviously, the production was pretty good. Mm-hmm. I think the technical difficulties were coaching issues, right? For the people that are not familiar with Zoom, and maybe one or two people that have had way too many beers and shouldn't have been presenting. But I think the production quality was just fine for the most part. I thought they did a pretty good job. I think Justin Crossley from the Brewers Network, the host, that guy deserves a medal.
Yep.
Somehow wrangling all these drunk people together over the course of 7 or 8 hours over 2 nights. That would have been a nightmare for me. I don't want to do that, but he did a really good job, I thought.
Yeah, and kept the boat moving. I thought that was important. And when you can get coherent conversation from some of these people that are they're industry leaders that had some really great kind of insight, not only about how they brew or why they brew, but where they are in the industry and how it all has affected this whole industry this year. I think that was really key.
Yeah.
For me, honestly, I want to see Paired move online as well, or at least that's one of the things that I'd like to do is cover Paired, because I think that was one thing that really stood out, is putting beer with food is something that everyone likes to do, whether you're just grilling out on the barbecue and putting some beers with it, or you're doing something special. That's something that I'd like to see expanded in next year's routine, because I think that's really cool.
Sure. Yeah, that would be fun. What did you think about the award ceremony?
You know, I'm someone, again, I'm nerdy. Thank you to the Brewers Association, because we get to attend that as media. I sit there. I usually have a few friends in the crowd that are entered, and I enjoy watching. It's funny because it's so disparate from across the country, but everybody has the same reaction. They're so overjoyed to get that. I enjoy that part.
Yeah.
And obviously you couldn't do that on this one, but I will say this. The marathon that is the actual live award show, this felt really good about getting through, naming the winners, and then being able to move on. And if you were at the hall, you could have just gone and sought out the beers that you're looking for. That's actually what happens to me sometimes, is I want to taste the winners that I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I've never attended the award ceremony at GABF. I usually just pay attention to who won after the ceremony and maybe seek out those beers. But I imagine that in person, that award ceremony had to be like 2 or 3 times as long as the one that they did online, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That would be a long time to sit through. You'd have to be really interested in those awards, but that's okay. You know, if that's your jam. That's your jam.
I like to get in it up to here. So
right.
It is what it is. And there were a couple of awards. Shout out to Wibby, got another medal this year. Have some friends over there. A lot of interesting beers this year. I, of course, am always watching the barley wine category, so we'll check out that as well. We'll have some of these beers come in, folks, and we will give you some reviews of some of these medalists. Not necessarily all the golds, because I can't get all of them, and Mike and I are in the same region, so that's difficult. But did you come away with anything in particular that you're like, I haven't had one of those, that style or that brewery in quite a while?
No particular style and no particular brewery. The things that stood out to me, or what I was watching for, was just breweries that I'm familiar with. Living the Dream got a medal. They're right around the corner from me. So good on those guys.
Yep.
Mothers in Springfield, Missouri. I traveled to Springfield and I traveled to another city in Iowa. And so Mothers and Single Speed, those are 2 breweries that I've been to in cities that I traveled to. So I was really happy to see them get some awards. At Cannonball is another brewery near us. Mm-hmm. I did not know, but since their opening, they've had at least 1 medal every year in GABF since they've opened. That's pretty amazing, right?
Track record.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, if there was any one single takeaway from the award ceremony, it was that I think you and I need to make a trip over to Cannonball.
Yeah, for sure.
And see what they're doing.
You know what? And I need to drag you, because props again. Tank 7 wins another medal. Congratulations, Boulevard, as well as Casey Beer Co. There were a number of winners that are in the area that I think goes a long way. And so I want to get there together. I know you've been there without me. I go every year when I'm back in town, so we'll have to do that. But also want to shout out, what was it? Storm Peak in Steamboat, Colorado got one. Right. Avery with another that we have a tendency to go to as well.
Right. That's right.
I really enjoyed the fact that it was pretty quick, and you could try to follow up the social media aspect this year on Instagram. And folks, if you want to follow us over there, it's RGR Craft _Ryan. You can find us there. And Mike's coming out of the social media doldrums. We'll get you an ad.
I'll get there. I've been anti-social media for my entire life, but I'm just going to have to buck that. Okay.
But I do have to say, the interaction with breweries and their fans, that's my favorite thing about Instagram right now. And so check those out. A lot of people had a lot of very cool responses, and it's all over the country. And I like seeing how everybody has similarities, but they put their own swing on things, and that's important. Yeah. The one thing, I think, did I write it down correctly? I'm not sure. There was one category that we both felt we had to get back in and dig to. Field beer. That's what.
Yes. Did you figure it out? I looked it up.
Tell me.
So yeah, that was a weird one. I've never heard of field beer. I've been brewing for 12 years and drinking beer for much longer. I've never heard of that category, but it's uh, beers with vegetables used as an adjunct. So think like pumpkin beer, right?
Yep.
Can be confused with like the herb and spice category,
Mhm.
but it is generally just where the vegetable qualities are highlighted as opposed to the spiciness. Um, so yeah, that was news to me. I never heard of
Okay.
that before.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna have to dig into that because chili beer has their own category, right? So
Yeah,
not gonna count that. And you always get corn in the cream ales and in some of the really light American lagers. So we don't want to go there. So we have to
right, right.
get funky with it.
Yeah. Well, think pumpkin beer. That makes
No,
sense.
let's not.
Yeah, I know your opinions on pumpkin beers.
Nothing
Now
against those
everybody
that
else
make
does
pumpkin
too.
beer. Congratulations.
Right, right, right.
Oh,
So yeah, the award ceremony was pretty fun. And that was interesting. I've never really paid attention to it, like I said, outside of just looking at who won awards and trying to seek those beers out. So that was educational for me to see how that works. The Glassware was pretty fun. Um, and then things just kind of went downhill from there, in my
yeah.
opinion.
Well, I think it's very clear that for us, getting on camera, getting comfortable talking about beer is one thing, and very, very different from making beer, especially making award-winning beer, because there are very few brewers, especially those that get thrust into the spotlight, that are comfortable in front of a camera.
Yeah. Yep. That is a skill that's learned.
It is. It takes a while.
Yeah.
Credit to those who just jump in with both feet. It's definitely different to, especially on the internet international level, to go from this baby that you've been developing as a recipe and umpteen versions of it, right, to get it just right. And then you got to go on a spotlight and talk it all through.
Right.
How do you cover the girth in the evolution of a recipe from a home brewer? Especially, there's such a phenomenon of home brewers starting breweries and then getting to the point where they're making excellent beer. They might still be a micro one barrel system, but they're getting recognized in international contests like this.
Right.
It's incredible.
Right. Right. And mine is just the comfort level of the guests that were on for each of the segments. It was just the content itself just wasn't particularly interesting. The food and beer pairing,
Mhm.
a lot of potential there, but not a lot of high quality execution on those sessions. Some of the other sessions like uh, uh, Lady Justice Brewing, the Michael Jackson Foundation, some of that stuff,
Mhm.
all reasonably interesting topics, but just not what we want to spend our Friday nights and Saturday nights listening to,
Well, I totally feel you, especially
Yeah.
when you're replacing the experience of
Right.
doing the tasting.
Exactly. So, it's kind of hard to be hard. It's difficult to be hard on anybody for the constraints that we're under. So that's why I don't like talking negatively about this experience with GABF, because really, what else could they do?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
next year is going to be better. We're all going to be looking forward to being in that convention hall together,
Yeah.
drinking beers together.
Let's
Next year.
hope so.
Yeah.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think it's a legitimate thing to talk about what the alternative is. We can't say that it's going to happen for sure. We can all hope. I certainly do. But if it doesn't, I think the pairing is one thing that they can continue with. The other thing that I would suggest, and that I really tried to do, I got about 7 of them on hand before the session started. When you put out the pairings list or the drink along list so that everybody can buy, I think you need to promote the heck out of that, because
Yeah.
then you get the sensory of as close to a tasting as you can get remotely.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think it would have been a slightly more enjoyable experience for me if I had actually made an effort to go find those beers. My entire plan was sit down, have my notebook, observe, and take some notes, and that was it. But yeah, following along with those beers probably would have made it a better experience for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was something like I couldn't get it completely, but I did get enough of the styles. I always have Tank 7 on hand, so the saison part was easy. You get the fresh hop IPAs versus the doubles versus the juicies. Those are, IPA is the easiest thing to find in America, let alone in a liquor store. So
Sure.
I just think that that's something that if they have to go through this evolution again, um, I don't want the brewers to get a negative feedback so that they don't enter. Let's just expand it earlier and get it out to everybody so they can do the drink along thing at home. And I think that would really be fortuitous. And
Sure.
folks, we want to know what you think. If you either attended the sessions, if you were one of the people on with us that were listening to us chat, or if you just said, hey, if I'm not going to be there, I'm not going to deal with it. Let us know in the comments below, because I really want to hear input. That said, when we go forward, whether we're planning it or one of the festivals that we'll do, this is clearly a hiccup. Let's hope that it works out. But if you get a chance to like come up with some new kind of concept to either have at the festival itself or do offline, where else do you want to go with it?
Right. I would love to follow Big Beer's model.
Mhm.
Right. You and I are big fans of that festival. We hit that up. Well, every year for a long time. We're kind of mixing it up a little bit now, but I love the idea of having sessions, like educational sessions, seminars, plus the tasting, food and beer pairing, dinners. Like a 3-day event where you can pick and choose the events that you go to, but it's not just a tasting, right? I really like the educational parts. And it's not just for brewers, right? It is for just people that want to be more educated about beer. So I love that, right? Anything we can do to mix those kinds of things in to the other beer related festivals that we go to, the better, in my opinion. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I do too. And I have to say, kudos to Sierra Nevada, because one of the best seminars that we've been to in the last few years has been on the water chemistry aspect. It was at Big Beers. So we saw the active brewers, the guys that are down in the trenches every day. And then the best session at GABF Online this year, I thought, was the classic, the guys in charge, the guys at the top of Sierra Nevada that have put it all together. And to see those juxtapositions, I thought that was really interesting. And you could see the whole gamut of what that particular brewery covers.
Yeah, that was really fun. Watching Ken Grossman, and I can't remember the name of the other guy, but Terrence, yeah, from Sierra Nevada. Those guys have been around forever. They've been around the block a dozen times. So listening to them talk about Celebration Ale and its evolution over the decades, that was pretty cool, because that's beer that we know. You and I drink that every year. We go out, we seek it, we look forward to it. To Joe, beer drinker that attends GABF, probably isn't going to care as much.
Right.
But for us, that was pretty fun. That was pretty cool.
And that brings me to something we're going to have to do in the next few weeks, is talk about developing our recipe for a new holiday brew that we can make. Because I think what we're going to have to do is come up with recipes, maybe together, maybe not, and then blend. That's the next evolution. And that's something also that I think would have been on the table this year at GABF, more of the blending series. There's Casey in Colorado, there's Beechwood, there's a number around the country that can really put the blending on the table that are beyond just the brew that you make in the kettle. I don't know. I like those geeky kind of things. If you guys like those things too, make sure you hit the sub and the like and the bell notifications so you know when we talk about this stuff. We do these live conversations, we do beer reviews, we do gear reviews, so don't miss any of them. I know you have a couple of things cooking.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you're putting me on the spot. Yes, I did do I did do a recording of disassembling and removing the Grandfather pump. I had a couple technical snags, so I'm behind on that. I'm also behind on several beer reviews and all sorts of stuff. It's coming up, I promise.
GABF is a distraction for us, folks. So we kind of get that way.
Yeah, that and some other personal medical issues and other stuff that we're getting through. It's a tough year. It's a tough year.
It is. 2020 is almost over. Let's just let it go on its way and be done.
Yeah, please.
But we'll have more on Pico Brew. We'll have more on Grainfather. We'll have more on beers that you can get and beers that we can get. Not necessarily always the same, but we're going to be there. So look for a bunch of our sessions coming up. We're going to get back on track. I hope you guys checked out GABF. If it is virtual again next year, Mike, we're going, right?
Yeah, we'll be there no matter what.
Okay.
Absolutely. For sure.
I hope that you guys are too, Mike. Thanks for all this tonight. I know it was kind of a last minute thing, so cheers.
All good. Cheers.
Folks, we'll catch you next time.